Start your game development journey in your mobile with this step-by-step course. We'll be creating this amazing game using GODOT mobile, in which the player has to dodge some enemies. It seems quite simple, but anyway, you'll learn a lot. This video is just one part of the full course, but you can find the full course in the description down below. Let's start. Now it's time to prepare our player to detect collisions. We want our player node to detect when it's hit by an enemy, but we haven't made any enemies yet. That's okay, because we are going to use GODOT's signal functionality to make it work. So let's go to the player script, and in the top of our script, under our extend statement, we're gonna create here a signal and name it hit. Now we will go to the player scene, and we're gonna notice that in our player node, in the signals, we can see the signal that we have just created. Now we will connect here the signal of body entered to our player script. So here we have the function that will be called when we detect a body entered. So what we're going to do here, firstly, I'm gonna hide the node. So basically the player disappears after being hit. Then we're gonna call our hit signal we created before and call the method emit, which basically will emit our signal. And then finally we want to disable our collision shape so that we don't trigger the hit signal more than once. So we're gonna call the collision shape. Then we're gonna call set deferred, and then we're gonna write here, let me just scroll down a little bit, disabled, and here to true. The last piece is to add a function we can call to reset the player when starting a new game. This function is gonna be called start, and it's gonna take a parameter named pause. Okay, then we're gonna set our position to the parameter of pause. Then we're gonna show the game object, and then we're gonna get the collision shape. Let me scroll down, the collision shape, and set the disabled property to false. All these functions, signals, etc. that we have created, we're gonna be using them in the next sections. Now it's time to make the enemies our player will have to dodge. Their behavior will not be very complex. Mobs will spawn randomly at the edges of the screen, choose a random direction, and move in a straight line. Let's create a new scene, and the root node in this case is gonna be a rigid body 2D. This one, we're gonna name this rigid body mob. We're gonna save this scene, and here we will need some more nodes. Firstly, an animated sprite 2D. Also, we will need a collision shape 2D. And finally, one, let's say, new node. It's the visible on screen notifier 2D. Basically, we can take a look here at the description. Detects when the node extents are visible on screen. Okay, so we can see here in the node, in our signals, we have two signals: screen enter and screen exit. So with this node, we can detect when the object enters or exits the screen. In the rigid body 2D, we're gonna set the gravity scale to 0. Okay, so the mob will not fall downward. In addition, under the collision shape to this section, we will have to uncheck in the where was it, in the ordering? No, it was sorry, it was in the rigid body, not in the collision shape. We're gonna scroll down, and here in collision object, collision, we're gonna uncheck the one inside the mask property, so this will ensure the mobs do not collide with each other. Okay, sorry, this one we have to uncheck. Now in our animated sprite, we're gonna create a new sprite frames. We're gonna open it, and this time we have 3 animations: fly, swim, and walk. So firstly, we have to select here the speed. In this case, it's gonna be 3 frames per second. Okay, I'm gonna do this so that that yellow thing doesn't appear. And well, here I'm gonna start renaming my animation. So this is gonna be fly. Okay, then the next one will be swim. Okay, remember to set the FPS to 3, and the last one will be walk. Okay, and again the FPS should be 3. Now to set our FPS, we have here in our folder all the frames. We have for example enemy flying 1, enemy flying 2, etc. So we're gonna go to fly, flying 1, flying 2, then swim, swim 1, swim 2, then walk, walking 1, and walking 2. We can actually preview our animation by clicking here. Okay, this is the walk animation, then we have our swim animation, and finally our fly animation. We'll select one of these animations randomly so that the mobs will have some variety. Now these enemies are a bit big, so in our animated sprite to this scale, we're gonna scale it to 0.75 in both axes. Okay, as in the player scene, we will have to add a capsule shape 2D in our collision shape. So capsule shape 2D. Then we will also have to rotate it, because if I want to resize it, as you can see, it's like not perfect for this shape. So what we can do here is to set the rotation degrees property to 90 under the transform. So here rotation and 90. Okay, now yes, we can resize it properly, and like this should be perfect. Now we're gonna add a script to our mob, an empty script. So firstly, let's create our ready function. Remember, the ready function is called as soon as we start playing. We're gonna create a new variable that is gonna be named mob types. Okay, then we're gonna assign to this variable the different animation names that we have created in our animated sprite 2D, and to do so, we're gonna call our animated sprite 2D. Then we're gonna call the sprite frames, and finally the method of get animation names. Okay, this returns an array containing all 3 animation names. walk, swim and fly. We could try printing this value out, so print mob types. So we're gonna click on this icon over here. This icon is used to run the current scene, and the current scene is the mob scene. So as you can see here, I only see the mob and not the UI and the player. So now as you can see here in my output, I should see fly, swim and walk. Now when we check that everything working fine, we can delete this print statement. We then need to pick a random number between 0 and 2 to select one of these names from the list. In order to do so, firstly we're gonna call our animated sprite 2D, and we're gonna call the method play that is actually used to play an animation. As you can see here, I can select one of the 3 animations, but we don't want to always be playing the same animation, okay? We want to make it a little bit random. So in order to do so, we're gonna call our mob types, then square brackets, and here for example I could say here 0, 1 or 2 for example. So here in my array, the element 2 in this case is gonna be 0, 1, 2, so walk, because the index in arrays starts at 0. So if I say here 0, it's gonna be fly. If I say 1, it's gonna be playing swim. If I say 2, it's gonna be playing walking. But as I told you, I want to randomize this. And how do we do so? We type here randy, that is a method used to randomize things. Then we need this symbol, the percent symbol, and then we're gonna call here the mob types dot size. Okay. Firstly, randy and this symbol selects a random integer between 0 and n-1. N is this number right here, and the size of this array, as you can see, is 3 because we have 3 different elements. -1 is 2. Basically this is gonna take a number between 0 and 2. That's exactly what we need in order to select a random animation. We can see that for example when we start playing, the mob seems to be like moving around because of the animation. The last piece is to make the mobs delete themselves when they leave the screen. So we have to connect on our visible on-screen notifier 2D. We need to connect our screen exited signal, and it's very simple. To delete a node, we're gonna just call here q3. Okay, basically delete this object. With the player and enemies ready, in the next part we'll bring them together in a new scene. We'll make enemies spawn randomly around the game board and move forward, turning our project into a playable game. Thanks a lot for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for more content. You have the link to watch the full course in the description down below. See you!